We'll call the meeting to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have the good news report.
Good evening. We're jam-packed tonight. We're going to start off the good news report with a thank you to each of you, our school board members. South Dakota School Board Recognition Week is February 19th through the 23rd. That's next week, but since we don't have a meeting scheduled for that time frame, we are celebrating each of you early. Serving the 25,000 students of the Sioux Falls School District and their families is, of course, a very big responsibility. You routinely make hard decisions, but you do it with careful consideration of the impact today, tomorrow, and well into the future. You visit classrooms and attend activities, serve on various boards and committees, and as elected officials, you are here because you believe in the value of public education. As board service is rarely glamorous, it is still a calling that each of you willingly accepted, and we are grateful for that. And I'm going to pass out, in addition to the sweet treats at your desk, just to show our appreciation, I'm going to pass out a certificate. The Associated School Boards of South Dakota sends us a recognition piece that will be hung on the wall in the back, as it has been for many years, to recognize your accomplishments. And then additionally, I will hand out a certificate to each of you, and I'd ask those in attendance tonight to show your appreciation while I do this.
Thank you.
While you finish that, I might take a moment of privilege to also compliment my 5 bosses. Superintendents everywhere in this country are longing for a school board like we have, where people are thoughtful leaders and who respect what this role is and who are willing to give the time and the attention that it takes to govern well. And unfortunately, it's becoming a lost art in many places. And because of that, children and school districts are suffering. And so I just want to tell you how grateful I am for the time that you spend and the encouragement and support you provide to me and to the work that we do in our school district every single day, the support that you give to our staff. And with each one of you, I can genuinely say that your heart is in doing what's right for children in the community of Sioux Falls. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Next up, I have the privilege of announcing the finalists for Teacher of the Year. We had 70 nominations, which is a fantastic representation of teachers throughout the Sioux Falls School District. A panel of judges met last week, and we started our trek around the schools on Friday and finished this morning. So I'm pleased to share this list with you. Dan Carlson, Lincoln High School Band. Katie Elwine, Laura B. Anderson Elementary, 4th grade. Rochelle Gabrielson, Hayward Elementary, 4th grade. Eliza Lelox, All City at Jane Addams, 3rd grade. Micah Siegel, Hayward Elementary, 3rd grade. Susan Teese, Garfield Elementary, 5th grade. And Laura Chaden, Eugene Field A+ Elementary, Vocal Music and Drama. So that is our list of finalists. And our evening celebration will be on Monday, February 26th, 2 weeks from today, at Ben Rifle Middle School at 7 p.m., where we will gather and learn about these finalists and then have the selection for Teacher of the Year, as well as a person of excellence, staff member of excellence. So we look forward to celebrating all of these fabulous people and the other nominees as well. And finally, you're done with me, and we're going to invite and welcome Jen Van Dyne to the front next. She is the principal at All City Elementary and the Elementary Immersion Center. Those programs are housed at Jane Addams, and she's here to share a bit about the fabulous things going on in her school.
Good evening. Well, tonight I get the opportunity to tell you about two of what I think are the best schools in the Sioux Falls School District, All City and the Elementary Immersion Center. As Deanne mentioned, I'm Jen Van Dyne. I'm blessed to be the principal of these schools. And tonight I'll start with All City. So All City is a specialty school that is the first specialty school founded in the Sioux Falls School District back in 1979, and two of the foundational pieces that formed this school almost 50 years ago still remain today, that parents are actively engaged in their child's education, and that the classroom is an extension of the community and world at large. And our school also boasts a unique weekly schedule that provides for collaboration. On Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, our students attend an extra 30 minutes those days in order for on Wednesday for us to have an early release to focus on collaboration that is both maybe grade-alike collaborations for K2 and 3-5, as well as vertical alignment. We are a one-section school. We have 146 students. And currently, we have students that are designated as EL, special education, and gifted education. But providing access to all students at ACE is important. It's an important part of our mission. By creating a community of learners, children, teachers, and parents working together to maximize individual growth and success in a changing world. With our emphasis on academic achievements and an engaged parental community, ensuring that we give experiences for our children at ACE that develop the whole child is part of why many families choose our program. Parents choose ACE because they want to be actively engaged, involved, and to have a small school setting with high academic experiences that provide enrichment activities that aren't typically available at traditional schools. Here are some of those activities that are unique to ACE. Our students go swimming on the first Friday of every month. They go to MB to learn essential water skills and promote exercise in a way that our physical education programming doesn't currently have. One Friday each month, students are also put in charge of their learning. Our parents commit to developing various activities that they can pick from, and it's called Choice Day. Students are provided with these options ahead of time, and they get the opportunity to select what they want to learn about. Some of these experiences include learning about Ethiopian culture, a visit from the Sioux Falls Police Department, learning about cosmetology, seeing the 911 dispatch center, and even touring a building site, all provided and led by our parents. This allows for students to discover new learning, interests, hobbies, sports, and maybe even a potential career path at a very young age. But giving back to our community is also something that we instill in our students starting in third grade. Our third grade students and their families, led by the 2024 Teacher of the Year finalist Eliza Lelox, visit Dow Rummel Village residents. They play, they read, They sing, and they even decorate doors, learning generationally about our similarities and some of our differences. Kids Care is also participated in and is a volunteer opportunity for our students in 4th and 5th grade. Our students have made tide blankets for Project Warm Up. They've gone to the banquet, put together packets at St. Francis House, and that's just to name a few opportunities. The goal is that our students learn to give of themselves to others, to promote their own leadership skills, and to recognize that there is personal satisfaction in contributing to the community that we live in. Not only all of those activities are present in our building, but also we have ACE parents that lead and support after-school programs and enrichments. We have a science club this year for our 1st and 2nd grade students, as well as a chess club in 3rd through 5th grade that's led by one of our parents and taught by one of our Sioux Falls School District volunteers, David Kirkhove. And this spring, we hope to participate in a chess club tournament with another parochial school in our community. Last but certainly not least is the All-City Musical. This program is a K-5 program that our 4th and 5th graders start rehearsing in for January. And our K-3 students also serve as part of our choir. Last year, we performed to about 800 total people in our 2 performances. We performed Beauty and the Beast last year, and this year we are excited to perform Finding Nemo. So if you'd like to join us, I encourage you to reach out, and we will make sure that we have a spot for you reserved. I put 2 partnerships up here. One is Life Church, and the other is really All City Elementary, our PTO, and our parents, because making this happen really wouldn't be possible without them. Life Church has adopted our school and focuses on showing support to our whole building, not just All City. Quite frankly, they typically feed our bellies and feed our souls. They provide treats to our staff meetings and really are just an encouragement to our programs in general. But as I mentioned, we have 130 volunteers that walk through our doors every single week, and over 300 volunteers that are registered to be in our program at any time. This commitment and this partnership between the school and the home is inseparable. The families at our building attend a training each fall to learn about our school and our classroom expectations. As part of the enrollment at ACE, you are required to volunteer for 4 hours each week in each child's class. That's a big commitment. You may read with your student or with other students. You might help correct math papers. You assist the teacher in various projects that she or he may have available. You answer students' questions. You assist with spelling. And you even play games at recess and help solve problems. This partnership is enriched by our PTO board, and some families, like I said, also help with outside commitments. It's not possible without having a whole group of people assist us in our musical, in our talent show, and all of the various activities that we have going on. There's always a buzz of activity at All City, and it couldn't be possible without the commitment and the partnership that we have as an ACE community. But that's not all. We also have another school at our building, and that is the Elementary Immersion Center. The Elementary Immersion Center is the newcomer program for K-5 students. They are within their first year in the country and have limited English proficiency. When students arrive to our community, our intake specialist at the Axtell Park building learns about the student, the family, and the child's prior schooling. The student is also provided a screening assessment of basic English skills in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Based upon those results and the interview, the family is given options of where a student can attend, with one of those options potentially being the Immersion Center. If the family chooses to attend our programming, the Immersion Center works to provide an environment that is supportive, that meets basic needs, shows love and care and compassion, and that also responds to their linguistic needs. Our goal is to have small class sizes, and 100% of our students are bused from all across the district. Students qualify to attend our program for 4 quarters or through the early promotion process if they have met set criteria. We currently have 127 students in 6 blended classrooms with 2 grade levels in each classroom in order to respond to this ever-changing enrollment. The majority of our students are Hispanic, followed by Black. As LSS has supported more refugees, we've also seen an increase in our refugee population to 27% in our building. As families resettle in our region and in our area, many families experience doubled up housing situations or possibly temporary housing situations until they can find a place to live independently and on their own. We also were granted this year the opportunity to be part of the CEP, or Community Eligibility Program, so that we have free breakfast and free lunch for all of our students in the Elementary Immersion Center without having to apply using the free and reduced lunch application. At the Elementary Immersion Center, of course, you would expect there to be a lot of diversity, with 17 languages and 26 different birth countries represented in our program. This year has been an exciting year and a very busy year in our program. So predicting our newcomer numbers obviously is a challenge. This year we've seen about over a 200% increase in enrollment since our first day in August. We average about 20 new students every single month. Considering the intake appointments that are scheduled over the next few weeks, we anticipate that our enrollment will be at about 140 on February 26th. As you can see, as mentioned before, students in December promoted to some of their other Sioux Falls School District schools. During that transition time, we help build that bridge between our school and the other schools that are receiving our students. That promotion ceremony allows for our students to be able to practice their speaking skills, sing together for their families, and really it's a celebration of their accomplishments so far in their first 4 quarters of our programming. Just as traditional elementary schools offer, we also have band and orchestra. One of the exciting things is last year we had 1 student that was in orchestra. This fall we had 11, and now we are up to 26. Our goal, especially as they're ending their couple of months here in our program, is we want to give them an opportunity to be engaged, and when it's in 4th and 5th grade, something that they might be able to also carry over into middle school as they promote. We've also grown our band enrollment from 1 student to 8 students. Our families want to be engaged in their child's school, and feeling comfortable and confident in contacting us is very important. Our liaison works diligently with families to assist them in setting up an email, logging into Infinite Campus, helping them complete online registration, signing up for the bus app, and teaches them apps like Google Translate for their own survival skills here. Of course, sometimes our families have phones that are set up in other countries, and they aren't able to access the same apps that our families traditionally can. We work with the family to find the best way to contact them, and sometimes that's through things like WhatsApp in order to get a hold of them until they can become more established in our community. The resources don't end there. We have hearing and screening vision, hearing and vision screening, and that's typically done each fall. This year, our nurse did it again because of our increasing enrollment in order to catch and provide those basic needs for our families, and then referring them out to community supports that are able to assist them. We also help with medical resources, immunization, being able to get them connected so that our doctors can translate immunization records and for them to seek further needs. As a title school, our parent events, we've been able to have events at the Washington Pavilion, teach them about the First Fridays where they can go there each Friday for free, had a Skyforce night, taught families about how to read with their child, and even helped them learn how to sign up for a library card and swimming passes. Our goal is to help them become an integral member of our community. This really is not possible without these partnerships, and honestly, so many more that I can't even probably begin to list. Ashley's Kicks provides a new pair of shoes for our students each winter. Project Warm Up provides a blanket right before we go into our winter break. Bread Break supplants our Fresh Fruits and Veggies program. Because our enrollment typically is taken at the end of September, it changes so drastically. And so we want to stretch those dollars, but yet also ensure that students aren't hungry throughout the day. This year we have the Delta Dental Van, and we hope to expand for 2 weeks next year. We had about 75% of our students who needed follow-up care, but we weren't able to meet all of those needs. The amazing thing is our community has rallied around our students and their families in order to find other ways to try to assist them. The Promising Future Funds also provides experiences through Book of the Month Club and even busing for our students. They have gone to the pumpkin patch, the butterfly house, and even CTE to make cookies. But each of those experiences aren't just an experience. It's a way to teach language, vocabulary, practice speaking skills, and even come back to support students in their writing. Our All-City family is also a big partnership of our EIC students as well. They help maintain, clean, organize our donation room that supplies students that as they come, we can ensure that they have a coat, boot, hats, gloves, especially in the winter conditions. There are other things like clothing, even sometimes books that families can also take home as well. They allow us to attend the ACE musical at no cost, and they even let us participate in their all-city end of the year carnival. Our classrooms also work together. We have lunch, we have recess, but we also have some buddy time. It's a way for our students to work together, play together, complete science experiments, and even just practice social skills with one another. So just as the namesake of our building says, America's future will be determined by the home and the school. The child becomes largely what he is taught, hence we must watch what we teach and how we live. We believe that we live this out in our building each day for all of the students and the families that we serve in the Sioux Falls community.
Well, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Love seeing the highlights from our schools, so appreciate you coming in and sharing everything with us.
I think it's great that we live in such a metropolitan area, but can still have schools like what you just presented that have that more small town feel for families who have children who would thrive in those environments. So when we talk about choice of public school options, there's a lot of them. And I love the partnership between the Immersion Center and All City. You talked about giving back and relating to people who are different. And I just think it's so important because as we continue to walk through our own community, we see people who don't always look just like us or talk just like us. And if we can start building that in the schools, that level of acceptance and understanding and curiosity about those people become less different and more interesting. And I think that that's so important that we can instill that at such a young age. And being led by parents who are demonstrating that and teachers who are demonstrating that is very important. So you talked about a lot of amazing things, and I'm so grateful for your leadership in both sections of your school and how fortunate the families are and the kids are for all the support, both from your staff, but also the parents who give a lot of their time and energy and passion about what they do outside of their school to share with their students too. So thank you very much for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Anything else, Deanne? That's it? Okay, great. All right. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the meeting held on January 22nd, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those are approved. As far as persons wishing to address the school board on non-agenda items, I have two people who have signed up. The topic is the same, but you get 5 minutes each. So I'm going to start with Travis, if that's okay. If you could just tell us your name and address as you come to the podium, and then we will keep track of your time. Start whenever you're ready.
Hello, I'm Travis Sieber, 6605 East Steamboat Trail. I'm a school counselor at Washington High School, but I am here tonight as a Rosa Parks parent. Our daughter is in the pilot program of the two-way immersion, so she is in the 4th grade and our son is in the 2nd grade. And as parents, when we took our firstborn and took a chance on going into a pilot program, we had some unknowns. And what I did know about being a district employee for many years is that our daughter would get a good education and would be cared for by exceptional educators. What I didn't know about the two-way program, now that we're in our 5th year of it, was the sense of community. And there's a true learning community that's going on in the two-way program. We also were not prepared with how well this program prepares young people for problem solving and stepping into the uncomfortable, learning math and science and skill building in a different language. That's just been phenomenal as a parent to see that growth. With Ben Rifle arriving a few years ago, they have gotten an identity now, and what's neat about the cohort, especially the 4th graders, is you've got a group of kids that are very excited about going to Ben Rifle. And Ms. Mahachek said there was always unknowns about the middle school feeder and the high school feeder when we signed up for the program years ago. And I understand this spring, the administration and school board will make those decisions. So right now we're at the point where members of this class, this cohort, don't want to be forced to choose between Ben Rifle and another middle school. So I'm here as a parent to be pro Ben Rifle for the two-way immersion as that would feed. I realize that you have difficult decisions to make as far as FTE and making those decisions balance out with other programs in the community, but it would be a loss of members of this cohort to make them choose between the middle school that's in their neighborhood and excited to feed and the program that they're learning so much from. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next we have Bonnie. Same thing, if you would just tell us your name and address, please.
All right. My name is Bonnie Holler, and I'm at 6513 East Dugout Lane. I, along with Travis, our daughters are in the same class, actually. And when we entered into this program, I had one daughter who's actually a year older, so she missed out by a year. So we're looking at, for when she goes to middle school too, I might have to split my 2 children into 2 different middle schools. And when we first built where we did, Ben Rifle was not even in the picture yet either. So having that being built just a half mile from us, we're like, oh, that's wonderful, but we didn't know what the program was going to be yet because none of those things had been really discussed yet, which is understandable because it's a newer program. So with that too, just on our street, we have 5 other families in the dual immersion program. And that's not counting like just our neighborhood either. So the neighborhoods around Ben Rifle have a lot of feeders into Rosa Parks for this program because it is somewhat district-based versus open enrollment. So I think the importance of keeping those kids together is huge as well. The same 50 kids have been together for pretty much from kindergarten, and they will be till 5th grade. And I think they'll be devastated to like be spread around after that, even though they live in the same neighborhood, but have to go to different schools. So I guess I'm just saying too, like, I would love to see it at Ben Rifle. I know there's lots of other things that come into consideration when making these decisions because there is Hayward on the other end of town in the 2A immersion program as well. But we do want to see this succeed. We've seen so much growth with my daughter. And then also I do have a kindergartner in the program as well. And so it's just amazing to see like how even from kindergarten to 4th grade, how the program has prepared them and how the friendships have developed within the program as well, and just how the teachers, interns, there's lots of interns that are housed in our community as well. So we get to see them on after school on the bus at neighborhood get-togethers, you know, so that they've been immersed with that as well. So that's been a really great thing. But we just thought we'd bring some of these things to you guys before you guys start making those decisions, and or that at least you know the input from some of the families in the program. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to point out that our next work session on March 6th, that is one of our topics, is to talk about boundaries and facilities and things like that. And so I will also add that all of the things that you've talked about are all things we're talking about and considering. Not that we don't value your opinion, because we still love to hear that from people and what your concerns and your priorities are. So thank you both for sharing. And if you're available and wanted to sit in, or our work sessions are recorded as well, you can watch online on that March 6th date, but it'll be right here again to have that kind of same conversation. Thank you. All right. We have nobody else for an agenda item to address us. Can I get approval of the minute or the agenda, please?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That is approved. No conflicts of interest. Can I get approval of the consent agenda 9A through E, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That is approved. Can I get a motion and a second for approval of the supplemental consent agenda items to Sanford Health A1 and 2?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes with one abstention from myself. And then we have our reports of the superintendent.
Yes, and our first report tonight is on our Spanish immersion program. And we thought it might be good to just have an updated picture of our current program as we then look at the future of that program in a few weeks. And so tonight is just that, an update of current programming. And so we'll turn it over to Dr. Zeke.
Good evening, board. Excited to be able to share an overview of the Spanish immersion program with you this evening. And the purpose is just that. It's to provide you that wide look over the K-12 Spanish immersion program that we have here in the district that continues to grow and thrive. And as you heard earlier, what are we going to do as kids get into middle school? Our priority area hits on academic success to diversify language acquisition opportunities for students and expand cultural knowledge. A few celebrations to begin. First of all, we're in our 16th year of Spanish immersion. I remember when it began in the district, and like one of the ladies that just spoke, that my daughter was 1 year too early. So I should have been a better planner, I guess, to get her into the program. We have 1,715 students enrolled this year in our K-12 Spanish immersion program, and those students over the last 3 years have earned 229 seals of biliteracy. That's quite impressive. Talk more about that in a little bit. As our overview, we have 3 program models in the district: the 2-way Spanish immersion model, the 1-way, and then I'm going to talk briefly about Spanish heritage learners. First, Rosa Parks and Hayward house our two-way immersion Spanish immersion programs, and they're right now kindergarten through 4th grade. Next year they'll be 5th graders, and then they will travel into middle school. In this case, if you think about it, if a kindergarten class comes in, you have one classroom here made up half and half of Spanish heritage and English heritage speakers, and then we have another one that's similar, and this one has a Spanish teacher and this one has an English teacher, and then they cross over each day and they're both instructed, and we can balance that instruction in Spanish and English. This is not just teaching about the Spanish language. This is teaching the same content that you would have in a traditional classroom, only it's in the Spanish language. Moving on to our 1-way Spanish immersion model, the oldest that we have. So it's at Sonia Sotomayor. It is taking English proficient students and then teaching that content in the Spanish language. In kindergarten through 2nd grade, they have 90% of their day in the Spanish language, and specials are in English recess lunch. They can talk English there or speak English. Then in 3rd through 5th grade, we add another class called English Specific Skills, and that brings that Spanish down to 80%, but still a majority of their day. And again, same content as traditional classrooms, and then they're encouraged to continue into the middle school program. Now, Spanish heritage learners are those students who identify Spanish as their native language. We call that their L1. My L1 is English, and unfortunately, I don't have an L2, but their L2 is English. And they enroll at 2-way or middle school immersion buildings, or at the middle school immersion building, and then they're able to access that Spanish that can help their L1 to grow stronger as they also learn their L2 English. At the high school level, the counselors work very closely with them to find the right classes that they can enroll on. All of these are on-ramps to their biliteracy as they learn English and Spanish. Teachers come from all around the world. It's an exciting aspect of our program. Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Honduras, Mexico, Peru, Puerto Rico, Spain, Venezuela, and even in the United States. And I'll say that it's going to be very exciting in the next couple of years as our program continues to grow, in that we have students who are now in college, and if they're in education, they could then in a few years come back and apply for our Spanish immersion positions, and that would just be very exciting to see that growth and tumble into.
Really trying.
Grow your own.
No.
Yes, that's good. Our program also has interns. We have 13 interns from 6 different countries. And we try for 1 intern in each kindergarten classroom. Other interns then will be split between other classrooms to share their knowledge and work with students. And I think it's very important to know that many of our interns that come into the school district, then some of them become teachers. So it's a good starting ground and testing ground to find out who is able to help support our students in our program. And we couldn't do it without the generous support of PASI, also known as Parent Advocates for Spanish Immersion. Since we're talking about PASI, let's get to their mission: to support and advocate for students, teachers, and interns in the Spanish Immersion program. And they fundraise for 2 key purposes. 1, to fund those interns, give them a stipend, and they also help them with their housing. And then 2, teacher grants. And those grants are used for either professional development or for resources in the classrooms or to help build up the libraries in the Spanish language. We have a World Language Immersion Advisory Council that meets 3 times a year. And brief pause. We have students and teachers and coaches and administrators and parents. And a general outline of the agenda is sharing from building principals what's going on in the district. And then Dr. McKay or myself share about what's happening at the district level with Spanish immersion. We brainstorm around one or more of the goals that we set forth, a little bit more on that in just a moment. And then we try to partner with families to promote school to home success and that connection. And then I think the favorite part is that high school students share about their Spanish immersion experiences at the end of each of our meetings. More on our goals. In 2022, we had an organization come out and really investigate our program and share recommendations. From there, they had many recommendations, and we had to narrow that down. We got together as coaches and administrators, curriculum coordinators, got into small groups, looked at them, leveled the recommendations from high, medium to low, and then came up with 4 that we have been targeting the past couple of years. Here are our 4 immersion goals. First, Spanish immersion specific professional learning. If you think about it, if you're just a traditional teacher, you have a lot of professional development that takes place to help you to grow in your profession. And we layer on another level with Spanish immersion as it's an integral part of working with kids who are becoming biliterate. A second one, or actually they're all number 1. I guess they're all number 1 now. Spanish immersion pathway, 3 high school courses, and then 4 continued 2-way immersion development as we continue to grow up through 5th grade in our 2 schools. First, professional learning. We want to provide that Spanish immersion specific professional learning, and we've done that in 4 ways and many more, but here are the 4 that we decided to share. Avant Advanced Training. And what that means is that students take a stamp test, and with that we look at their language level. The Avant Advanced Training matches that so that teachers can get a good look at what does that mean, where are the kids at, and what are the aspects of their writing, and to help them to help instruction grow in the classroom. Over the course of this year, we had 3 Spanish immersion professional learning sessions where we took Hayward and Rosa Parks Spanish immersion teachers and brought them together. They were they got a free get out of staff meeting card to come and visit with us. Admin and coaches, they also have Spanish immersion monthly meetings with us so that they can develop their knowledge as well as they lead the programs. And then last year we were going to have a dual language training in the summer. Something happened with the presenter and the trainer, but she'll come this coming summer to help us out with dual language. Our second goal is to work on the Spanish immersion pathway. A little bit of a timeline, like they stated earlier. We began investigating pathway options for middle school locations as our 2-way immersion students grow into middle school. And this spring, we'll have Spanish immersion middle school pathway options shared with the public with opportunities for feedback. And we have a board work session coming up in March. High school courses. We want to continue to develop our high school courses to give kids options. And we visited with stakeholders and interviewed some Spanish immersion students, as well as the counselors at Lincoln and Edison, so that they were on the same page as they can guide the students as they progress up into high school. In the fall of '23, we implemented the AP Spanish Literature course. And in the fall and winter, we did a revitalization of a capstone course. In the past, that had been like a year-long project with little guidance from the teachers or professors. And now what we've done is make that into more manageable modules and projects that are geared towards what kids were telling us that they wanted to learn about. And that will be available not only to seniors, but also juniors starting next year. And then this summer, we hope to identify potential additional courses and work on access to instructional materials and student resources. Again, it's not as easy as just saying, well, let's add these 3 courses, because there's materials, there are instructors to hire, and a lot of logistics. But we are working on that as a goal. And then finally, our 4th goal is developed 2-way immersion, that development. And we developed last year a 4th and 5th grade scope and sequence. If you can imagine, as kids work up through, which units are we going to teach in math and Spanish in 4th grade, and which units are we going to teach in 5th grade. You can't just teach all the math in 4th grade and Spanish and then move over to English. That's not a good balance. So it's that balancing science, social studies, math, and ELA and Spanish. And then we'll also take a look at and review the implementation that we've had kindergarten through 2nd grade and 3rd grade. I didn't want to leave 3rd grade out, but kindergarten through 2nd, specifically in the primary grades, to see, are we doing what we said we're supposed to be doing, and where can we make improvements on that since we started it about 5 years ago. And then the final part is the celebration of the Seals of Biliteracy, and some exciting news from the work of the Spanish immersion administrators in the district, where we celebrate the students' growth with global Seals of Biliteracy, and we've done that for the past 3 years. And they can earn a functional seal or a working seal. But not only that, now we have become a state that also recognizes the state seal of biliteracy. And we'll have a soft implementation for seniors this spring, and they will award the silver and gold level. We're still working out through some of those, and this will be, again, a soft implement, but we're targeting seniors for this year. The final slide is the data on our seals of biliteracy, the global seals. And you can see that they continue to rise in both functional and working. We're on an upward trajectory. And I ask that the board acknowledge the Spanish immersion program overview, and I stand by for any questions or comments.
Anybody? Questions or comments?
Appreciate the update.
Well, as somebody who has a sophomore in college going to school for elementary education, who was also a K-12 Spanish immersion student, I'm really trying to have her come back and teach. So we'll see what happens.
Great work.
2 years. She wants 3rd grade. So if anybody has an opening. No, as a parent, my family has benefited hugely from this program. It's something I'm also very passionate about. And you were talking about the seal of biliteracy, and I think it was probably like 5 years ago we started talking about it and how much we wanted that for our students before they graduated from high school. And looking at the map, we were one of probably a handful of states in the United States that didn't offer it on a state level. And so that's where we led to the global, because we wanted something. And so I'm as excited as you are to say that South Dakota was the last state in the entire country to finally adopt their own South Dakota seal of biliteracy, which is great. And we still have both options available. Kind of like you mentioned, we'll do a soft launch, but it is really nice when students go, whether they go on to college or whether they go out into the workforce, they have something that shows that they are functional, they are biliterate, they are bilingual. And as you continue, if you look at jobs or you look at, experiences in the community, when I started my first child in the program, people would say, why would you do that? And I always said, when our kids graduate, it's not going to be cool that you know Spanish. It's going to be almost an expectation or a requirement. And we're not quite there yet. But I do think that that's very true for many professions. It's such a huge benefit. So as we continue to educate our kids in 2 languages, I think it's a huge advantage to them in whatever career it is that they choose, to be able to communicate and work with a variety of people. So appreciate the update. There's been a lot of really great work done and continues to be done. So I know I appreciate, and I know the parents appreciate the efforts that the district makes to support the program and continue to help it to grow and get better every single year. So thank you very much, you and your whole team.
Thank you. They're wonderful to work with.
Great. Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to acknowledge the Spanish immersion program overview, please?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That is approved. And our legislative update.
Yes, as Mr. Beek comes up to give us an update, partway through the session, a lot of bills that got moved in very quickly as the last days for dropping bills in approached and came. And so we have seen many of the bills we were watching initially kind of progress A few of them are no longer viable, but the ones that we're still watching or the ones that the board still needs to provide your approval for our positions are listed. And then Mr. Veek's going to spend just a little bit of extra time on a couple of things. As we hear bill testimony, sometimes we want to make sure that we have a clear picture of what our position is here in Sioux Falls. So he'll spend just a little bit of time on that, and then we're happy to answer questions as needed. And I can keep talking unless Deanne has it up. Ready? Okay, thanks.
So 3 weeks ago, we went through several bills and already got the board approval on those. So we'll skip those, and then we'll do it, if you're all okay with it, we'll do what we did last time, which is if a bill's already dead, we're not going to spend hardly, if any, time on it, and we'll just try to move through these rather quickly. So if you go to Senate Bill 94, that's where we'll start. If you have page numbers, it's on the bottom of page 3. So Senate Bill 94 would amend provisions pertaining to the Partners in Education Tax Credit Program and declares an emergency. It's just so it can start this school year. It just changes some regulations and whatnot. Just put us in some administrative rules they feel they need. We just put a position out there. I won't go on it, but to amend, because while they're doing that, they should actually provide some information on who's actually using this program and attending, not individuals, but some aggregate info. Would be interesting to see the demographics of the students that are taking advantage of this, because it's supposed to be for kids who can't afford programs. So that's our position on that one, is to amend. Then the next bill is Senate Bill 100. That bill has already died. Then there's Senate Bill 101. That bill has also died. It's there's this 3-week layoff. A lot of bills died in the meantime. Senate Bill 103, standardize some school safety practices. That bill has died. Senate Bill 127 is just a placeholder if they need one late in the end of session to come up with a new idea about education. So that's just a placeholder. Senate Bill 146, we support or recommend supporting. It's revise and reveal provisions relating to elected officers and to provide a penalty. Therefore, it makes it a felony to threaten an elected official. That's hasn't moved yet much. It's up in Senate Judiciary the 13th. I guess that's tomorrow. Senate Bill 152 would codify maximum fees or legal notices for papers with 9,000 plus circulation. We have that as neutral on that bill. It's over into it's past the House, or it's past the Senate, and it's over to the House. Senate Bill 155 has died already. Senate Bill 47 we support. It's to revise the incentive program for juvenile diversion opportunities. It's basically tripling the funding. We'd like to see the funding mechanism changed, but at least they're paying attention to the issue. That's not in this bill, but they're paying to the attention and putting more money into it. So we support that bill. So on to page 7, Senate Bill 159 and 161 have already died. Senate Bill 167 we're neutral on. It is it's a bill about class. It's not written right here. It's a bill about the legislature trying to do something about owner-occupied tax burden, but actually they should just try to keep the 3 levels so they're basically the same. In the past, they've done that with ag, but I think they've gone away from that, and they should just try to do that is what we would recommend on that. Senate Bill 198 authorizes school districts and non-public schools to acquire and administer nasal glucagon. We oppose that bill because we think bills like this will make schools a drugstore, essentially, or a dispensary for that. I don't know, tell you, I've got them on this. This is the same thing as that. So I want to tell you. Senate, on page 8, Senate Bill 204 would make an appropriation for a grant to the Douglas School for constructing a new school. We oppose that. The state doesn't build schools for school districts, and they shouldn't do it for Douglas either. Senate Bill 212, we're neutral on, allows for the payment of goods or services by a school district between school board meetings. You know, we have impress funds and things like that. We can already do some of that stuff. This might actually make it, depending on how this is interpreted, might make it more restrictive. So we're neutral on that. Then I think we're over to the House bills. And again, they would start on page 3 with House Bill 1134. It's the next bill to look at. And that bill has died. So already. So House Bill 1137. That bill would, probably I should say would have, provide for a minimum teacher salary of $45,000 in FY25, and it increases by the percentage of as state aid goes up in following years. That's getting folded into 1048. We're going to talk about that one at the end. So the bill was withdrawn. Yeah. We're on 1142. 1142 is just another placeholder bill. 1162 would require school board elections to be held on the first Tuesday following the first Monday of either June or November. Basically trying to get school boards to combine with the primary or the general election. We're asking to amend because the bill doesn't make municipalities do that. So we're saying if you combine with a municipality, let us go when their election is, if they're going to have that anyway. Because we have our best turnout actually when there's the mayoral race, in a municipal election, better than what they get for the primary. So we're amend on that. HB 1164 would require basically bond elections only to be with this one would include odd numbered years. This new one would include only even numbered years with the primary or so we're opposed on that because you can only have a bond election. Nobody else has those requirements. You can only do them twice a year every 2 years. It's just not good business. So we're opposed on that. House Bill 1165 has died. House Bill 1181 has died. House Bill 1187 we support. It creates a 1-year career and technical ed instructor educational permit. So it gives us flexibility in hiring some of those CTE teachers. House Bill 1197, it requires the publication of measures taken to restrict the access of obscene materials by minors. We're neutral on that. We already follow SIPA, which is the Children's Internet Protection Act, and we follow the Children's Online Privacy Act, COPPA. So that bill we're completely neutral on. House Bill 1021 would make an appropriation for the teacher apprenticeship program. We support that. On page 7, again, 1206 is another bill on that Douglas school issue. So we're opposed to that. They have it in both chambers. So we're opposed to that one too. House Bill 1216 creates the local assistance fund and provides for the transfers certain unobligated balances. We're neutral on that. It's attempting to generate more money for schools, but instead of doing it through leftover money, they should just appropriate the money for schools. So that's why we're neutral on it. House Bill 1218 creates the building opportunity through out of school time program and make an appropriation. Therefore, we're neutral on that. funding is not available to public school districts, so it really doesn't affect us. House Bill 1220 will allow appeal of the decision of the Department of Ed regarding special education-related services by civil action against the department. We support that bill. IDA allows the state to set the time frame for the appeal of a due process decision. This would set that as 30 days. House Bill 1226 would make an appropriation to DOE for the provision of telemedicine in school districts. There's nothing wrong with that bill, but it's federal funds, and those federal funds are limited. So we don't know if they'll be ongoing, and schools could kind of get in a program and then have to look for the money to fund it. That's why we're neutral on that. House Bill 1236 recognizes students as Rushmore state athletes. We're neutral on that. There's already the Presidential Youth Fitness Program. House Bill 1237 has died. 1238 reimburses schools for meals to it would essentially move the reduced meal cutoff to 209% of poverty. That's something we're doing through our Angel Fund program. So we would support that. House Bill 1250 has died. And then the last one is House Bill 1253, the Partners in Education Act, which is expanding it to, you don't have to go to an accredited school anymore. So basically a sort of voucher program for any and everything. So we were opposed to that, but that bill has died. So that bill was done. So as Dr. Stavum said, we were going to spend a little bit of time on House Bill 1048. That's kind of the bill that's become the big one. You want to go to that? So on this bill, it was originally sponsored by the Department of Ed. We opposed it because it put in it kind of went back 5 years and said, if you hadn't done this stuff for the last 5 years, you have 3 years to make up for it, or 4 years to make up for it. And so we opposed it on that and said we liked that other bill that had that minimum thing. Now they've combined the two, and they made it much more fair. And I'll kind of talk about, well, the bill as it is written right now will essentially say, starting this year, you're going to increase teacher salaries by what state aid goes up. And so if state aid goes up 4%, which it's proposed to do, our teachers, not just salaries, but salaries and benefits, should go up 4% next year. And then it also says that the minimum teacher salary in a district will be $45,000. So there won't be a teacher in the state that's paid less than 45. It was 48, but they amended it today to 45. There's one more amendment we want them to put on. It's just a technical one about what you do in year 2 and 3 and 4 to keep up with the increase in the average teacher salary. And it's basically a technical amendment, so it shouldn't be a real big deal. Why we wanted to discuss this bill a little bit is, like I said, it was originally sponsored by DOE, and they testified for the bill today. And the DOE rep said, and I'm paraphrasing, kind of two things. Our teachers deserve better. They deserve to receive the full effects of the blue ribbon legislation. That last part is kind of a rhetorical trick, but I'll explain that in a minute. And then 2, the executive and legislative branches should get to realize the effects of their efforts. They should get to see those instead of, I guess, schools spending money on other things. So you guys have seen this chart 100, well, maybe not 100 times, a dozen times, some of you. And so I'd just like to kind of address that. The one thing about the blue ribbon legislation, the full effects of the blue ribbon legislation, actually here's what it required. It increased on average statewide 9.1%. And it was different for different districts depending on how much money you raised locally and whatnot, but the average increase was 9.1%. And they said basically one thing, you got to spend 85% of that money on raising teacher salaries, on teacher salaries. That's what schools were told. And so what happened that year is state aid on average went up 9.1%. Average teacher salaries went up 11.65. So much more than what the state aid increase was. And then the second rule was don't fall backwards. in following years, not increase 4% if we go 4, and none of that. It was just that you can't go backwards from that number. That was the requirement of the Blue Ribbon Task Force. So that was fine. Schools increased teacher salaries, but not quite at the pace of what state aid was going up. So then this year they tried to move the goalposts with the original 1048 and said, we're going to go back to the original bill. We're going to look at what you gave in 2017, and we're going to make you make up for anything you were short of that over these years, and you have till 2028 to do it. So that is kind of where we're at. Now, I'm going to talk about this thing in a little bit more, but just, you guys know from this document, and you've seen it several times, over time, state aid does not keep up with teacher salaries. It's the other way around. So I'm for this bill because it's going to turn the argument in the future away from what we often hear, which is we give you plenty of money, what do you do with it? We spend, schools and the whole state spend more on teacher salaries than state aid goes up. So just for instance, so from 17 to 23, the period, because we don't have 24 data and we don't have 25 data yet. So if you look at 17 to 23, the period they're upset about, state aid went up 14.9, teacher salaries went up 13.4. Now it did lag a little bit, but the year before, when the big, when the big increase happened, when it was 11 plus percent, almost 12% versus 9.1%, that isn't the base year. They want the base year to be the year after, and they certainly don't go back to 2012 when state aid was cut 8.6%, and there wasn't one legislator and one state official, nobody in the state said, oh, you have to cut teacher salaries 8.6% this year. So when that happened, they were cut a little, about 1%. So when those things are usually even, because they're both about 80% of the expenditures and the revenues, state aid versus salaries in general. Teacher salaries are by far the biggest part of district salaries. But the first 10 years of a per student formula, they were almost perfectly equal. They were within 1/100%. And then things got wonky when the Great Recession hit, including that year when state aid was cut 8.6% and teacher salaries were cut a little, but not nearly 8.6%. And then what happens? So you're out of balance a little bit. So over the next few years, you might start balancing back. And then eventually, the proposal came in, hey, we're going to raise sales tax, and it hadn't gotten nearly back to balance, but we're going to raise sales tax 0.5%, and then make these requirements on where the money goes for teacher salaries. So it went up again, it got unbalanced again, 12%. So it's slightly going back. Now the reality is, when they give you 0% increases, the state, and when they give you 0.5% increases, you give teachers more than that. But then in the years where it's good, where times are good, and you get a 7% increase or 6%, maybe you don't quite give that. But it balances out, and it's more than balanced out on the side of average teacher salaries increasing faster than state aid. And that doesn't even include the benefits, which are going up faster than salaries are. So what's happened? So we looked at 17 to 23. It was 14.9% state aid, teacher salaries 13.4. If you go back to 08, where we started on this document, and you look out to 23, state aid's up 36.1%. Teacher salaries are up 45% over that time. And if you go all the way back to 1998, the first year, full year of the per student formula, state aid is up 77.8%, teacher salaries up 91.2. So the notion that the legislature has been piling a ton of money into state aid and schools have been spending it elsewhere simply isn't true. So where has the money been going? They all, every year you always hear about the big three, and you always hear, we're going to fund the big three the same. Well, it never works out to be the same. If you look at this, you can see since 2008, the expenditures on state salaries and benefits per FTE. So, the growth is like we get growth. If our student population goes up, we're going to add more teachers. If it goes down, we're going to reduce them. Same here. So per FTE, the average salary is 4.303%, and the total increase is 88%. Community support providers, we're actually one. We have a small little program where parents can put their kids in a program here and we educate them. That has gone up 3.9% per year. And Medicaid providers are the biggest ones of those. But we're a little piece of that. And that's our letter. And I think ours is lower than what the others have gone up. But we just tracked off that. And then education, what has state aid gone up over that time? 2.33%. So I think now this is great. This bill passes, the focus is going to shift. Schools are required to give what they get. So there can be no doubt about that. If they don't, they get fined. So the focus will become on that, which is where we've tried to get it for the last 10 years or so. And I want to scroll down again. See that little weird box of, not the blue box, but right above the blue box way over on the right that has that green and that orange in it. So there's two hypothetical salaries there. Remember, the average teacher salary for South Dakota school districts last year was $53,217. If schools had followed the state aid formula since 2008, that's that red box turning into orange as you go to from left to right there, it would be 48,500, 580, 48,580, 5,000 less, or 4,500 less. However, if schools had received the same percent increase as the state workers, salaries and benefits wise, and by the way, I'm not knocking state workers. I'm just making a comparison between the two. I think they deserve what they get. The average teacher salary wouldn't be $53,200, it'd be $59,637. So like I said, I can't wait for the debate to get focused on that instead of this notion that schools spend money everywhere else but not on teacher salaries. So that I take questions or I'd ask you to approve the positions as we've presented them.
Thank you. Anybody have questions?
I'd just like to add an additional comment. We do support this bill after all that math. I want to make sure that that's very clear. And what we have said to our legislators all along is that if we are going to continue to grow teacher compensation, we have to continue to grow state aid to school districts. And that's the simple version of that math. And we have to grow at the rate of those other buckets. And we're anticipating that maybe this will bring that about. So we're very pleased.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody that's helped walk me through this. This is my first go at the legislative session as a board member, and it's no easy task. Like, the amount of hours that you guys put into staying up to date on this is wildly underthanked. So when I came in and was like, can you explain this to me like I'm in 5th grade? Like, it was really helpful because this is complicated stuff and it does impact our day-to-day operations. So just thank you to everybody who took the time to explain this to me. And the continuation of this, it is taxing on all of us, and there's a lot of effort put into making sure that we are making sound decisions and doing that governance and being great board members and leaders in this. And what you guys do, again, goes not thanked enough. So
Thank you.
I would just add to that, I think, sometimes when it comes to election season, no matter what the election is, people think my vote doesn't count. But it really does. Like, every single person that we send up here for any topic probably somehow touches education in some way. And so it does really matter who you vote for, and the job that you do of investigating and educating yourself on how people value education. We all want to live in a community full of educated people who take good care of us, whether it's our students at school, whether it's us at a restaurant, whether it's whatever it is. We want someone to take good care of us who has the education needed for that. And so we are the business who creates those students, and we need to have proper funding to do so. And I was also just going to add, you were talking about social services, and if we think back to an hour ago when we got the presentation on All City, And the immersion center, we are social services. We provide those services to every single one of our students, regardless of what school they sit in that desk at. And so to look at the funding that's even different between them and us is really kind of frustrating, because we're providing a lot of those same services and still being very underfunded for that as well, in addition to the teaching that we're doing for our students. And so I also appreciate the visuals. Lots of people are visual people, and sometimes until you actually paint the picture and do the math and give the evidence, people can't see that. But once you see it, it's hard to deny. It's hard to say that this isn't true and that this history is wrong. And so I appreciate our legislators who are supporting this, and I appreciate our lobbyists who are out there trying to do their best of educating. And I appreciate you guys for putting together the documents, because we live it, we know it best. And so how can we help to educate them to have that big picture too? So thank you for that information as well.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? No? With that, or any questions on any of the other positions? No? Okay. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the legislative updates as well as the positions that were stated?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those are approved. At this time, we are going to move into executive session, SDCL 1-25-2, parentheses 3. Can I get a motion and a second for that?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for executive session. We are in exec session.